All right, let's go.
Hi, welcome. Welcome to Julie's World Crochet. This is our Julie's Crochet World. You know, I haven't even decided yet, but this is my first video on a brand new channel that is just about crochet and yarn. I'm not a knitter. Maybe one day I'll go into knitting. But I came to this world just recently, a few months ago, and just fell in love. And it's so much bigger, so much more diverse, so much more fun. All you guys are so great that I wanted to be a part of it. And I'm also brand new, and I'm not going to be for everyone, but there's some other people out there who are also going to love learning and figuring this out along the way. We can do that together. Let's, have a coffee together, sit down, chat. I really want that kind of feedback. I'm not someone who really always follows a pattern. I don't pick a project and then get the yarn that goes with that project and then follow that pattern and make exactly that. I always want something different. I want to use a different stitch, or I want a different sleeve, or I want to use a different yarn and it's a different weight. And how do I adjust that? And solving those problems and figuring it out so we can design something together or pick stuff together, that's great to me. I love that community. And that's what I really wanted to share, like learning from the basics. I've learned how to crochet from a lot of YouTube content and a lot of creators. Shout out to Bag a Day Crochet, who is, I think, the goddess of them all. And all the other content creators that are just so fun, so fantastic. They brought me here so that I enjoy it so much. I love just some time spent, knocking off whatever I'm working on. I always maintain a couple different projects at a time, but I've fallen hard into this world. So that's what I want. I want to be able to share it. All these people who make the content are so good. I think sometimes they forget how little, I want to say we know, definitely how little I know, and how much I have to learn to be really proficient to do all the things I want to do. But that's why you learn together. There's lots of other people who I think would love to do that, who would want to hear about, oh, this is a screw up, and it's so basic that so many other people wouldn't even think of. Let me tell you right now, I will make that mistake. I will definitely make that mistake. My goals these days are to get through what I want to make with minimum frogging. This is powerful success, So I'm making this channel. I'm going to share this. I'm going to keep up with it. I'm going to have projects that I continue to work on, and I want to be able to show and share with you. I have yarns that I'm trying to figure out what I want to make with, and I'd love your feedback. And I'll put up videos as well that are the things I'm learning that I just haven't seen clearly. They've been piecemeal, but haven't been in one video, that I'll try and put up. But sometimes, I hear some people have these great videos, and I know they are, but my brain doesn't work that way. So it's great. They're great. I love them, but sometimes there's something that I don't understand as well, and vice versa. Sometimes my explanation, it's going to work for some people and not for others. So anything I can put out there that helps anyone, that lets people, kind of be a part of the group and chat and meet new people and have new things they do, I think that's all great, and I just want to be a part of it. So that's what this coming up. This is my very first video. I'm going to do the please like, please subscribe if you feel like it. That would be great. Someone out there is going to be the first subscriber, and kudos to you. Thanks, man. I mean, lots of love for that. I'm going to get excited when I get to double digits. That'll be a big deal, let alone these people hitting the million mark, so that's fine. The more I can share, the better. What I am going to do on this first video, I know it's an intro video. I'm going to try not to spend too long. I do talk too much, but I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to change that. When I learn to edit more, you'll probably get some relief. But in the meantime, we're just going to have to roll with it. But I am going to share with you a couple of things I had going on. I just have some stuff here, but I'll show you the projects I'm working on. This here, I completed just recently, and I'm showing you that because I had bought one ball of this yarn because I'm so new. I didn't have a stash at all. So I had bought, a ball of yarn here, a ball of yarn there online so I could try them out. And this was on sale and I thought, oh, this is great. I had bought this from Hirschner's. This is Village Delight yarn. Right here, I'll show it up. Village Yarn Delight. And I really loved, it's so soft. And it's got this kind of drapey, I love that knobbly kind of look. That has to do with the way it's twisted. But this is incredibly soft. Now, I will tell you, I can see right now, and actually now that I'm wearing it, this is going to pill, so I'll just have to deal with it. I just still really like the feel of it. It's one of the nicest yarns I've had. Again, I'm new. I understand that. Doesn't matter. It was really, really inexpensive because I got it on a clearance sale. And that's what happened here. So I bought I think one, maybe two just to try out. I thought I could make myself a hat or a scarf. I can't remember if I bought one or two. And I just liked the yarn so much. And I ended up having to buy again kind of shortly after, hadn't used the yarn, and it was still on sale. It was actually, I had some sort of weird super sale at Hirschner's, I think, at this time, because I bought a number of things that were cheap, well inexpensive, even better than I expected. And I may not have realized it was a sale because I just didn't know my prices at the time. But I've since gone back and none of them are on that price anymore. So it was just, I guess, ridiculously cheap at the time. So I bought, these were $5 a pack, or 5 in a pack for $5. So it was like $1 a ball, dollar skein. I can't even tell. Is this 100 grams? I don't even know how many grams are in a ball here. Hold on. No, it's going to send the back here. Not rows, machine, yards. Yeah, 100 grams. So it is 100 grams in a ball. And I guess I can tell you the yard. It's 184 yards. And it's considered a bulky weight, which I normally don't work with, but it doesn't look like, I guess it looks like a bulky weight, but it, let me see if I can get a better focus. But I guess it is. Okay, I guess it is. Oh, there we go. My brain's not used to that. But it didn't look that way. And when I made this, and what I find so interesting, so this is, all I did was do a double crochet. All I did was come down, straight up double crochet, with a really basic design. I actually just made, the square back, the 2 panels for the front, sewed them together, and then did a sleeve all the way down. And I didn't even want to do, for this sleeve, I'm going to show you a little bit. See how it's kind of got that bubble effect that goes on, like that big thing. All I did here was come in. I did a bunch of decreases to come in so I could bring it in there. And then these are just, I think, 3 rows of half double crochets, just so that I've got a little bit of a clamp here. But which isn't a problem. It stays on fine. I'm not dealing with poor sleeves. It worked perfect. But I didn't want to have that big ribbing all the way around. And this is just a little sweet pea edging that I did here, which I also really like. I changed my mind at the last minute. It was supposed to have the, a thicker ribbing in here. That's one of the things that has a tendency to slide because I had prepared it with the idea that I was going to have a thick, I guess it doesn't help me to put it under all my hair, to have a thicker piece here. And then of course, but then I wanted it more for summer. And I have one I'm making that's big and warm, and I'm heat intolerant. So I just didn't want it like that. So at the last minute, I changed my mind and I added this edging. I really like it. You can't even tell that it's edging. Look at how it's pilling. It's going to be so fuzzy. And I don't care. This is my lazy, comfy sweater. It is just so soft and comfortable. I'm still really, really pleased about it every time I'm wearing it. So I just can't complain. But this is an example of what I mean. I bought this yarn without a project in mind. I just really like the yarn. I'm not alone. We all do. I know you all do this. I have seen stashes and stashes and stashes that you guys have. Lots of people have. So I'm not the only one, for sure. I just liked it. But I do try and I'm really trying to use the yarn I have. As I get it, use it for a project. I don't want to just have it on a shelf. I want to make use of it. Maybe not right away. Fair enough. But I like to have good intentions, I guess. We're going to see how successful I am. Anyway, I wasn't sure what to do with this. This was such a good price. I bought 2 bags. So I had 10 skeins. 164 yards means I have 1,600 yards of this. And as a bulky weight, that's to me really good. I can do a lot. That was the whole point. And that was the big deal. When you don't have a stash and when you just don't have anything built up, you don't have enough yarn to do bigger projects. Like you were in a situation where if you want to make a cardigan or make a child's blanket even or something, you need to have enough yarn to make that happen. So if you don't have a stash, then you're buying it all at once. You're picking what you want. I want this yarn to do whatever. And I don't always get the yarn right. I'm not always sure what pattern I'm going to do. I'm not always at that point like this. That's one of the reasons I bought this, even though like I can't wear this color. Like I bought this and the problem is, look how bad, look at that. Look at that. I can't wear that. That is not my color. I wish it was. I really love vibrant colors. But they don't look good. This is okay. This is one of the few bright colors that I think is okay. Some people may disagree. Feel free. That's what comments are for. I love all your comments. I really value feedback. I have learned through my other profession and career, you'll learn more about me as time goes on, the value of that interactive feedback and collaborative thing. I'm not going to take everything this, as gospel for what I need to do, but there is really something to be said for the communication and everyone's ideas. It goes so far. Anyway, I have this, and I'm pointing this out only because this is what it looks like for a double crochet, right? And this yarn is so drapey, like so drapey. Even on the here, it's what I'm using right now. Even like it's just so. You see the foofy? It's so drapey. So it's so soft. It's so lovely. I bought 2 greens, but I bought like 2 skeins of green because I thought, because it was so cheap actually. I think it was $2. It was so cheap, and I thought, well, I'll buy a couple in case I want to add a color or a trim or a stripe in something that I'm making. I felt like I was going to have more because I bought some of this, enough so I could make a cardigan. Instead of like the hat I was originally planning with my 1 ball, I bought 7 more balls and had enough to make a cardigan. And then I also had this yellow, so I was going to have extra pink left over. I was going to have the coral, whatever this is. I have the 2 greens, and then I had this lots of this gold. I was like, what am I going to do with it? Because I don't really know people. I don't know many people who wear a lot of very bright colors, at least in this color palette. Not that that's a bad thing. I love it. I wish they would. They just don't. And the 1 or 2 people I know who do have that, I have a bunch of other gifts for them. So, and other things that are really their style or their taste that I'm making for them. So I just didn't know what the heck I was going to do with it. And then, so for instance, I have a friend who does love happy colors or bright colors and colorways like that make her happy. But she's like me, they don't look good. Even this color, she's like, oh, I could never wear that. Like they just don't flatter her in any way. So don't wear them as clothes. I can make her a blanket. Her birthday's coming up. And I know she'd want one. And here's what's happened. This is what I like. And this are the sorts of things that I want to talk about. And one of the things that I find so interesting about crochet, I guess I should tell you that too. I love the working of it. I love working with my hands. I usually put on an audiobook. I love sitting outside in the sun. And there's just such a rhythm to it. It's so meditative. It feels good. It's not just like it's a craft, oh, look, do craft stuff. It feels good to do. As I'm doing it, I am soothed, So I really love it for that reason. But I'm additionally liking it, or there's a part of me that additionally likes it because you can't buy this. There is no machine, and I can explain why at some point if you want, but effectively there are knitting machines. We buy knits all the time now. We don't think about it because there are machines that make huge swaths of knit fabric that are manufactured into our clothes, into our whatever else we're doing. You can't make a machine to do crochet. And that's because knitting goes across laterally, but crochet, we work the fabric in all directions. You work like, say north-south if you want, instead of laterally, you work vertically, you work up into the heights, you work down below, like when you're reaching down into a spike stitch, anything like that. We're working in all directions. To do a Catherine wheel, you can't get a machine to do that. Not at this point. I mean, maybe in the future, who knows? But to this point, we can't. So everything you see that is crocheted has been done by hand. Someone somewhere has done this by hand. And then add to that, so that the uniqueness of that, the craftsmanship of that part, that's not, it matters to me. I really like that there's no machine out there pumping out like generic versions of this. This is always personal and unique because a pair of hands did it. But what I additionally like about it is it really is a very unique design, because you have, it doesn't matter what you want to make, a cardigan. Well, what pattern am I going to use? What yarn am I going to use? What hook size am I going to use? What stitch am I going to use? And my personal combination, that is the design that goes with me. And what you would choose is totally different, or maybe almost the same, but slightly different. The point is, your work is absolutely unique to you. That design is totally different. What you would do is totally different from what I would do. And that fascinates me. It excites me. I think that's great. So, and this is an example of that effect that I think is so interesting. So in the yarn, this is the exact same yarn, remember. I have here, this is what it looks like when it's just got a straight up double crochet coming down like nothing. You know how it is, just pump them out, there's nothing. And I decided I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of this yarn. And I decided that I got 1,600 yards plus the other balls of the colored stuff, but just of the gold color. I can definitely do a blanket. This would be great for my friend. We'll call her Stacy. So only because I haven't checked with her if I can use her name. So she'll just be Stacy in my world for now. We know who we mean. So I'm getting this for Stacy. And I decided to do it, but then which one am I going to do? What kind of stitch? Now this, even a basic double crochet or any stitches like this, I don't want a blanket with all of these holes. And she wouldn't want it, I should say. Stacy has a condition that I'm going to have to look up for you. I don't remember the actual name. A condition, a phobia that plenty of people do. I think it probably falls in with the uncanny valley effect. So with the uncanny valley effect is when, especially like robot faces or AI and stuff, or certain graphics, whatever, when they're so close to real, but not real enough. And humans, like not just people, but humans, we are disturbed by that. Like there is a real disturbing trigger in human beings when it's so close but just off like that, as opposed to like a square robot that looks like R2-D2, for instance. He doesn't bug us, he's a robot. And yet as soon as they look really, really lifelike but not quite enough, it disturbs us greatly. And that's called the uncanny valley effect. So this phobia is kind of along those lines. She can't explain any reason for it. It's not like she ever got traumatized. I'm afraid of sharks, but I watched Jaws when I was really young. That did it, She has no reasoning for it, but it is the effect when they can't look at anything that has concentric holes. So like a honeycomb that has all those holes visibly packed together, or anything like that, including, what do you think we're going to do? Crochet is not her hobby, I'll tell you that. She'd never be able to do it. But I crochet stuff and I want to be able to share that. Is this not the bane of every crocheter as far as I can tell? So who can we give this to? Who can we share it with? Who can we move it on to so I can make another project? Because there's a limit to how much stuff I need in my house. I only need so many blankets. I don't wear cardigans. I'm heat intolerant. That's why I wanted this one to be so light. I do have a heavy one I'm making. I live in Canada. We have winters. I can wear it then and I'll be okay. But for the most part, I just can't tolerate too much heat stuff. I only need so many blankets. I don't use Lapgans very often. So that was the thing. Anyway, so what I decided, and I tried out, and I'm going to show you sometime. I always test out which stitches I'm going to do because, again, I'm never following a pattern. So I might explore, I'll spend some time doing crochet and trying different stitches, trying different hook sizes or whatever. I just see what kind of combinations I really like for the yarn that I'm working with. And I don't know why, I used to kind of avoid the moss stitch a little bit when I first started. And I have no excuse for that. I honestly don't know why, but I have fallen in love with this stitch. I've used it a couple times now, and I decided to try it on this, and it is the perfect, as far as I'm concerned, the perfect stitch for this yarn. And if you have a similar yarn, actually, I think my green one is a dissimilar yarn that had a different source. It had a different, there's another maker on Hirschner's. I bought the Village yarn I showed you. There was another brand called Papaya that looks exactly the same. And one of these yarns was the Papaya. I can't even remember. It might even be this gold one. Anyway, so I did this, which is the moss stitch. Can you see how fantastic that fabric looks? And what's so great about the moss stitch in this scenario, the tendency, and I mean, I know I thought this way, since the moss stitch is, it's just single crochet, chain one, and you're going to skip one, right? Your chain goes over the stitch you've skipped. So you're skipping one all the way along, and you feel like it's kind of going to be gapey, but it makes a really kind of solid fabric. There's not a lot of holes. It's not really opaque. This is super drapey, which is why I get this effect right now, but that's why I liked it. The moss stitch, to my mind and in my experience, really retains the drape of it, right? So I'm working on, actually, here's a different yarn, a very basic yarn. Here's my double crochets. I'm going to show you more about this. This will go into my failures thing that we talk about, actually. But you can see, like, it's fine, but it's not nearly as drapey, right? Whereas I feel like with the moss stitch, right, like this is built in, this is double stitch built into this yarn. But with the moss stitch, I got good coverage and still maintain the drape. And I think if I had done the moss stitch with this kind of like stiffer yarn or like less swoopy yarn, if I had done that, it would have maintained more of that drape. I think that's just built into the way the stitch goes. So I've taken it now and I've incorporated stripes. And this is not a pattern because no one's done this with this yarn that I have that I wanted to do. And I decided, because I have 10 balls of the gold, I have 3 balls of the 3 and a bit balls of the pink, and 2 balls of the green. So I started off with some yellow and did it solid, and then I brought in my the pink with just a single row and then a double row, and then this is 4 rows. And then I like graduated it out. And I'm just using the gold all the way through on those stripes. I brought in the green. Here's my pink coming in. And what I did is when I went through, because I have more of the pink, and I have 3 pink and 2 green. That lets me do pink, green, pink, green. I would have really liked, if you've seen those blankets, just like this moss stitch, but alternating like pink, green, gold, like a little bit more interactive instead of the pink and then green stripes and then pink stripes again. However, again, it's not a pattern. And I really couldn't be sure how much I would get, like how many I would get. So by doing it this way, I went by rows. I know I have lots of this gold. And I can always, if I needed to go more length on just gold, I could always add to the end. But when I went through, I used 1 ball of this pink, and I just counted the number of rows. I got 13 rows, right? 1, 2, 3. And I counted how many passages, runs I got, complete runs. I get 13 rows in a ball. So that let me plan out the rest of it and just do the same pattern. So 13 rows for what I'm doing. So here's my transition. Here's my 1. Here's my 2, 4, and then 2, 1 transition, right? I'm just, kind of whatever gradient. I'm trying to think what it is in a pattern. And I'll just repeat that. I'm just transitioning now to the green, which will be the last round of green. I have 1 more pink. And when I'm finished the pink, I will do it this way. And what I did is I measured how long that was. So the halfway, I've done it, measured a couple of ways. The halfway point in this is going to be right in the middle of this pink, right? Because I have a pink green. Here's my middle pink, and then I'll have a green pink on the bottom. So my halfway point for this is right here. That is going to give me, if I remember correctly, this is 52 across in width that I've made, and according to, no, this is 48 across. And according to my halfway point, it will be 56 long when I'm done. And I should have some of the gold left over. I've saved 2 balls of the gold in my plan for how much will be used. 2 balls so I can make a border around the edge. And I'm going to be okay. I've decided the moss stitch, I really like. They all have different styles, right? Like it would look different with a different stitch, with a different border. Like it would have an entirely different feel. This kind of stitch, this kind of blanket has that cozy, summer on the porch or, a hammock kind of thing. It's not thick and bulky, but it just drapes around you. It's incredibly soft. It's got some, it's not very holey. So I'll be okay with this if it just has a small border, like a little border around, or if I get several rows and have a slightly bigger border. I think I'm just going to continue and use a moss stitch border. And I've seen a number of blankets using a moss stitch in various yarns, like obviously not this pattern, where they really haven't done a border at all, and it looks great. It fits the mood of what they're doing. In this case, I think I'm okay with a moss stitch border that's even if it's just 1 or 2 rows thick. Although I think with 2 balls of yarn, I will be able to get more than that. I'll probably get 4 or 5, so it'll be a little bit, maybe an inch wide around. But I can obviously decide when that's there. If I go 2 rows and I'm like, oh no, that's good, I can cut the yarn. It's fine. And if anyone has any other ideas, really, all through this, please add your comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. You definitely will have more ideas that I'm aware of. I'm so new. Like I have my repertoire of solutions and ideas for design. It's still small. That's the whole point. Hit the notification bell so you can come back and give me what for. Tell me I'm doing it wrong. Feel free. It's okay. It's okay. I take it all good. So anyway, I'm really pleased with this. Is turning out. This is one of those things because I've made some stuff that did not turn out the way I wanted it to. And this is one of those ones that is turning out better than I hoped. I'm really pleased. And to the point where I thought, I'm going to try it. I'm going to do it. I really think that Stacy would like this. But I'll find out. Like, it's not the end of the world. Her birthday is 6 weeks away. I can do something else. So, and as I'm doing it more and more, I'm like, oh yeah, I think this is where, Stacy will really like this. Yes, I think she'll really like it. I really like it. Maybe I like it. No, back it off. I do. I like it more and more and more as I do it, which just means I'm going to be more and more pleased to give it to her because I do think she'll like it and appreciate it as much as I do. So I'm actually going to be most excited to give it to my friend. But boy, I'm liking it. And actually, I'll show you, I'm going to show you a couple other projects. So here's a couple of examples of what I mean where you're just trying to figure stuff out. First off, I'll show you one of my basics, which is not anything big, but I have done my hat. This is for my uncle. But here's an example. I started off following a pattern, and it works fine. And again, I never do, and there's nothing wrong with that. I kind of wanted a bit of a stitch sampler hat. I started off with a pattern, and I got to here with that. And then I started doing, and this is how it happens. I start following the pattern and I'm doing it along. And I decide that in the yarn I'm using or in the color I've got, whatever, I'm not really a fan of what they have going on in the pattern. I've chosen my pattern wrong probably. But it doesn't mean I have to stop. It doesn't mean that I have to do it. I can just adapt it for what I want. So I just changed out what I was doing as far as the hat. I wonder if I should put it on. I haven't, see, look at me, not with my ends. You know what? Shame on me. Shame on me. But this is for my uncle. Let's see if I can get, I don't know if you can see it. And I quite like it. I think it'll be good on him. It's a good weight for him. It should fit him. It fits my head really well. It's not too tight. I think we're both the same size on that. I have a really big head, so. And then and the ditto happened with this scarf. I wanted to give him a matching scarf. I did really like it. I started off according to their pattern, and they went one way that I decided I didn't like and didn't want to do. And so I just changed it out a little bit. I wanted it to have a few more ridges. This is the Karen Pound of Love, I think it's called, or 1 pound. Was the thing. It's very soft. It came out really nice. It's got a really nice squish to it without being really, really heavy, So I thought that this particular pattern that I used gave me an area enough that it's not too but still warm and squishy and enough to block the wind and feel warm, because this is Canada. And here, I'm going to show you my 2 things, and then I won't keep. This is yarn that I know I'm going to show you later, but anyway, I had bought this on sale, and it's called Wishes. It's Moroccan Nights. I really liked it, and that was fine. This is an example, and I was going to say I don't often use variegated yarns because I bought a few, and I just didn't know what to do with them. I didn't know. I mean, I did, and then I used them, and I didn't like them. It turns out, and I think I've come to the conclusion, I don't really like variegated yarns except in particular, like, specific circumstances. That's probably somewhere where I would see a pattern that I really wanted to make or do, and they've uses a variegated yarn, and then I would buy the specific yarn for what it was they made, because that would, then I know what it's going to look like. Then I know I like the way it looks. I've made several things now, and I never like it as much as when I have more control over it. I would rather work with solid yarn and multiple color yarns. Actually, I'm going to show you that right now after I do this. So this yarn here, though, I still, at the time, I thought it was really pretty. It was on sale, so I get to try it out, because I don't know. It's funny. Like, I really like this. It's got a bit of sparkle. I loved that the colors were, just this red and blue together. With the white. I like that. I can't remember what this is called. If someone knows, when it's like see the red and white, the way it's twisted like that. I can't remember what that's called right now. Right? I want to say ragu, and I know that's wrong. It's not ragu. So if someone knows, please shoot that down to me, because I can't remember. I've heard it once before, and I wouldn't even know how to find out what the name is. I'll track it down somewhere. But then I ran into the problem. I made myself a hat. It came in a bag of yarn. So I made myself a beanie out of it. And I don't really wear beanies, but I made myself out of that. And I do really like it. It's nice and lightweight. I enjoy it, but I don't wear lots of beanies. There's only so many I can have. So I decided to use the rest to make a shawl for my aunt. That's how we got to the hat and scarf for my uncle. Because I think she'd really like it. And look how pretty that variegation is, like how the colors go with the red and the blue on it. I think it's really, really nice. And this I followed a pattern for. I'm trying to think if I followed it all the way. I think I did. I think I did not as many rows, or more rows than they called for in their pattern. I am always adjusting it in some way. Again, that's the whole point. I want to use that on here to show us how to make those adjustments so we get exactly what we want. I'm learning right now. You can learn along with me. But let's make those things and adjust those things and tweak them and make the changes we want to make effectively, so that we're making exactly what we want and we get the fun of design. Yeah, that's what I want. So some things are much easier than you think. So I know I adjusted this one a little bit, but I mostly followed a pattern. I'm pretty sure it was a Bag a Day crochet pattern, but I can't remember specifically which one, because I've watched lots of them. But anyway, it was really lovely. It's really soft. It hangs really nice. And I love the way that works. But I think that's kind of a rare thing where I find variegated yarns that I really like. And I keep saying variegated. By that, I mean it changes so often, because I do like, if I'm going to get a multicolored yarn, I do like a graduated yarn, like an ombre, that only goes gently through just a couple colors, not a whole bunch. So that would be, and maybe that's going to change. Again, I'm new. If you guys have suggestions, if you know of any yarns that are like you would call the exception, if there's stuff I'm missing, tell me. I'm looking to learn. So here's an example of where I like multicolor yarns. This is my other current project, and I'll be asking for help and thoughts with you on this one. This one is based on and inspired by, on Ravelry, there's a pattern called With a Little Help from My Friends for an Afghan. It's going to look a lot like this in principle, although not exactly the same. So what is the same is, I'm not sure what their color scheme is. It's a lot more blues and sandies. What happened is I had bought some yarns for something, and just because I was interested, and they are the Bernat, not Super Saver, it's something, Value Saver maybe, it's Bernat, anyway, 200 grams per ball, per skein. And in a bunch of colors, for various reasons, for a couple of other reasons, and that's why I bought them all the same one, because I thought I can use them for something else, because I will have more, like I will have a bunch left over of each of these. And then I kind of put that plan to the side, and I thought I really liked this, and I decided I wanted to make an Afghan. So what this is it's just varying all the way up. Which one? Oh, no, I'm at the top. This is where I'm working from that side up. So it starts with, so I've got a bunch of different colors, and then you'll have a band. I have two colors that work as a band. One is this walnut color. One is this navy blue. So I'm going to, and this one spot that has granny squares. I have another set of granny squares that are going to go, 3/4 of the way up. So there'll be two bands of granny squares. But otherwise, the pattern that is repeating here is a 6-row multicolor something, and then my spacer band, and we're alternating the brown to the blue to the brown to the blue. So 6 rows of a multicolor band, spacer, and then a solid, 6 rows of one of the colors in a solid that has kind of a texture. So this is a rice stitch that I did here. I don't want it to be like baubles. I don't want it to have that kind of boho look, but some kind of texture so that it's really pretty, like to give it some feel and some texture here. Here's my spacer, and then the next multicolor one was the wave stitch. My spacer, it always has that white strip in it. Here's my granny squares that were a bit of a pain in the ass to sew in here, but that's okay. I have a bigger conversation to have about that. That'll be included, that has to do with your yarns and your hook sizes and fudging stuff. And then spacer, and here's my blue. And in this case, this is not an alpine stitch, but it's kind of close. You can see the front and back post crochet here, that just to give it that little bit of texture. Spacer, and here we have V-stitch and a cluster crochet. Spacer, and then this other 6 rows of the color, and this is a forked cluster pattern. So I'm changing the pattern every time. I want it to have those differences. I want it to have, there we go, all those colors. That's where I like to take my solid colors and make them into a multicolor project. Overworking with, and there's so many ends. Look at these ends. Look at these ends. Are you kidding me? I don't mind it terribly much, but I certainly avoid it. God, so many ends. So many ends. We need a end fairy is what we need. And the last thing I'm going to show you is what I mean by where this is more, I don't want to say variegated, but it technically is. It switches too much. I bought this yarn. It's one of the first yarns I bought. Actually, it's the first multicolor yarn I bought. And when I saw it online, the picture of it looks white. And I can't find the picture anymore, so I wish I could show you, but I just don't think it's available anywhere. So it looks very white with some bright pink and some bright green. And my impression was that it would be a lot of white with this very bright pink, kind of a few stripes through, not lots of changes, but some striping with a bright pink and this kind of bright leafy green. Reminded me very much of spring, like when those two spring kind of colors, and this one would have quite a lot of white background on it. and it thought it would work for some of the projects that I was interested in doing, like one or two things. So worth buying because I'm going to find something to do with it. Turns out it is not. There's not a lot of white on it. It just, I don't know what it was. It's just the way it happened. And it still didn't look bad. It still looked pretty good. So I changed my mind and I decided to do a shawl because I didn't buy very much of it. And again, this is when I was learning. I was running into these problems of, oh, if you don't have very much of it, you can't make anything big or moderate size. You're making a hat, you're making a doily or, a placemat. This is what I got the yarn for. So I had enough here. I think I had 750 yards, which isn't like too little, but I'm definitely just making a shawl. Like this is, and I'm just showing you here. This is a shawl I made. So, or a scarf. It's really a scarf because look how wide it is. I guess you could use it as a shawl. And what interested me, and one of the things that interests me the most in crochet is the stitch work. I really love the combination of stitches and yarns. And what it makes out of that. You'll find, and as I show you more work, you'll see that so far, every time I'm doing work, I'm really looking, I combine a lot of stitches. I don't want to do a big piece where I'm just doing the same stitch over and over again. That bores me. Unless I'm doing this and it's double crochet, I'll just put on a movie, close my eyes and go. And even then, I need a little bit of discipline to just keep going and finish it. I really enjoy having variety of stitches or something interesting or unique or put them together in different ways. So I found this kind of lace, again, I don't even know where it is right now, but this pattern here, I don't even know if you can see it as well, that kind of looks like, it's got this floral look. Maybe it's easier like that when there's a background. You can see that. And actually it's kind of weird because this looks very different than the couple of examples that were online that people made with this stitch. So that's, I think, so fascinating about it because just combining it with this particular yarn gave it an entirely different look. And I don't actually mind it very much at all. This is not my style. This is something I would give to my mom or my friend's mom or someone else. It's not particularly for me, although it's a scarf now, I think, more than it's a shawl. I don't know that you could like shawl it. Well, I couldn't shawl it. I'm not, some tiny little old lady definitely could shawl it, and would probably love it. But here's what I found. The problem is that once I started with this yarn, this variegated yarn, it was not, when I saw it, the colors that were, you really see on the ball are this kind of white color. Oops, this kind of white color right here. You see maybe this bright pink, but definitely, yeah, the very vibrant, and this bright green that's right here. Right here. That's what you kind of see when you look at the ball. And then when you start working with it, well, it does all these gradations. And I found that the intermediate pinks and the intermediate, like there's nothing that's white. It's just kind of like this kind of, it almost looks a little bit dirty, like it's just slightly pink or just slightly green. It almost looks a little bit dirty. And then I found that the rest of them were kind of too dusty and kind of dull. And that's not what I was going for at all. I wanted something that was more vibrant and use some of the brighter colors. I like it. I'm happier with it here with these bright colors than I am, say, here with these kind of drabby things that we got going on. So this is an example when your project doesn't quite turn out the way you were hoping, right? It's kind of the cool thing about crochet too. You pick the things you want, you have to put it together, and then you have to do the work of it. And that's when you find out if it worked. That is what makes it an art and a craft. Because you just never know until you see the final project. So this is one of the final ones that I'm not happy with, only because it didn't turn out the way I had intended. But I do know that someone else out there is probably going to be really happy with it. I have not. I've woven in all the edges and ends and everything, but I have not blocked it yet. So I'm going to block it, and I think if I get some interest and people say so, I'll give it away. I mean, I'm going to give it away anyway, but what I mean is I'll mail it, give it away to someone. I'm mostly interested in, is there someone out there who would really want it or who knows someone who would really want it? Otherwise, there's nursing homes here. There's a bunch of places that I can donate it. I have friends with family members. someone somewhere will want it, but maybe this is something someone out there, your mom would love, to have a nice wrap. Maybe if she was, I don't know, going to church or having lunch with a new date or whatever's going on, that she might just be thrilled with it. So I'm saying she. I'm not against any guy too. Don't get me wrong. You could do whatever you want with it. It definitely is fun as a scarf, even if it's not a wrap. It's kind of soft. I mean, it's not the kind of yarn that you would make clothes out of, which I didn't know at the time either. Well, people had said it was soft, but I don't agree. It's soft enough. It's soft enough for a scarf and a wrap. I would never make a shirt out of it, though. I don't think I'd be overly comfortable. So if that gives you a heads up. So yeah, let me know. I'm going to leave it here. I know I talked too much or talked whatever. I can just keep going. I'm going to try and shut it off. But everyone who's sat through me through this whole thing in the beginning, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for saying hi. Love to hear your comments. Go ahead and hit subscribe. I mean, I'd probably fall off my chair. I'd be so thrilled. Definitely a thumbs up. I know we don't do thumbs up anymore. I'm Gen X. I'm going to get over it, but I don't know what else to call it. But we know we mean like, but do those things. But absolutely, give me some feedback. That would be great. I'm so glad you were here. I'll be putting up some more soon. And just welcome to my world. I'm glad you joined me.